This is my 104th day this year speaking in front of an audience. And of all 104 days this year speaking in front of an audience, no day has caused me more strain, more stress, more concern, more anxiety than this one. And I'll tell you why. I'm here to share my mental health journey. And as I've been considering what to say to you all today, and I've been considering it literally all year, we made these arrangements in January, I kept hitting the same brick wall of questions. How do I share a journey that is never going to be complete? How do I summarize the experiences and the lessons that I have learned about mental health in under an hour? And what would be most meaningful to you? Now, my first draft of this talk was about 8.5 hours long. I did reach out to NAMI Iowa leadership and I said, hey, can I just have a little bit more time, like 7 or 8 more hours? They said no. I don't know why. But I narrowed it down to 3 main lessons. The first lesson sets the context for our journey. The third lesson, and yes, I know I'm going out of order, is an activity that we will do to illustrate that lesson. And yes, I just said activity. You will be engaging and participating in this keynote. And then the second lesson is a story. And it is a story that I don't want to tell. I do not want to tell. But in reflecting on what I could tell you today, I think it is a story that illustrates the most important lesson that I have learned about mental health. So, I want to formally begin the same way that the rhetoricians of ancient times taught us to begin speeches. I want to formally begin by the same way that all the great orators of our day and history past have begun their speeches, and that's with disclaimers. Okay. Disclaimer number 1. I am not a doctor, counselor, or mental health professional. Not a doctor. Now, I do know quite a bit about the brain, and I do know quite a bit about emotions and how we regulate them, as I have been a lifelong student of human communication. So I am aware of mental health. I am aware of the way that the brain functions, and I am aware of all of the emotions that we navigate, especially as it comes to interactions in human communications. But I'm not here to share professional advice. I am not qualified to diagnose or prescribe anyone's mental health. You can just consider me the lunchtime entertainment or the lunchtime motivation. Disclaimer number 2 is coming soon. I am not a motivational speaker. Okay, I am. I am a motivational speaker. I really resist that title. And yes, if you check out my Instagram, shameless plug, you will see my name and then you will see motivational speaker right under it. And here's why I resist the term. Whenever I think about a motivational speaker, I have an image of just kind of superficial, kind of cheesy quips. You know, I have the image of this picture of someone climbing an impossible mountain and sayings like, you can do it. Computer, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Just keep going. And nope, that wasn't it. There we go, there we go. Changed the world, right? You can do it, just keep going, change the world. And there's nothing wrong with those statements. There's nothing wrong with those statements. I just feel like I get to bring in a little bit more depth. And honestly, if at the end of this is what I leave you with, I'll be pretty disappointed in myself. And my main message isn't particularly motivating. It's not necessarily inspirational. Because my mental health philosophy And my life philosophy is a little bit different. It's from my buddy Joe. Some of us call him Joseph Campbell. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. Here's what this means to me. It means that we find the areas of our life that make us the most uncomfortable. And then we sit in that discomfort, in the discomfort of the things that we are pretending not to know, and we learn from them. I am arguing for sadness. I am arguing for anxiety. And it's my personal experience that when I have been sad, when I have been anxious, people want to rush me through to the other side. And I know that they're well-intentioned in doing that, but they oftentimes miss that there is a powerful lesson in our sadness, and there's a powerful lesson in anxiety. And have we not learned from Pixar movies that this is the case? That we do get to learn from going into the areas of discomfort. So, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a trained professional, I am not here to give you a motivational speech. I'm just a guy. I'm a guy who has experienced a lot and has gathered a ton of tools in his toolbox, and I'm here to share those tools with you as if I am saying, take this, it's dangerous to go alone, take this. Okay, good. I saw a few reactions in the crowd for that one, okay? I was a little bit concerned. Now, this is something that is very important to me, and if you're sitting there thinking, did he just say something that only nerds can understand? Yep, absolutely, and after all, a nerd is only someone who plays with the clicker. There it is, a nerd is a person who is extremely enthusiastic and knowledgeable about a particular subject. And I nerd out about quite a few things. First of all, I'm a keynote speaker, I'm a communication trainer, I'm a public speaking coach, and I'm an Enneagram trainer and coach. And don't even get me started on these because, again, we will be here for the next 8 hours. But I'm also quite a nerd on being a dad. It's going to come. There it is. I'm also quite a nerd about being a dad. I have 2 unbelievable young men under my care. And part of the reason why I am sharing the story that I am sharing and why I'm having this recorded is so that they can learn from my mistakes and my experiences. First rule of CrossFit is tell everyone you do CrossFit. There you go. Somebody said, geez, yeah, I know, I hear you. And I am a major nerd for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Y'all, I love baseball so much, specifically the Arizona Diamondbacks. And last year, I got to go to Chase Field, and I got to watch Game 5 of the World Series, and I got to see my team play like absolute garbage in Game 5 of the World Series. But I got to see my favorite player, Corbin Carroll. Oh, man, he was the Rookie of the Year last year. He led the team to the World Series. This guy is just incredible, unbelievable. He's a great defender. He's great at bat, and he is ungovernable on the bases, right? He gets on base, and it feels like he's on his first day of Little League. He's just like distracting the pitcher. He just does this all of the time. He's so exciting to watch. And I also find his name a little bit curious, right? His name is Corbin. I don't know if that's a popular name. I taught high school, middle school, and college for many, many years. I've literally seen thousands of names. I have never, ever in my life encountered anyone named Corbin. And so that name always stuck with me. And anyway, Corbin Carroll and the Arizona Diamondbacks, they bring me a ton of joy. That was weird. Wasn't that weird? I just told you that I didn't have a whole lot of time to share my journey, but I dedicated a little bit of time to sharing about the Arizona Diamondbacks and my favorite player on the Arizona Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll, and what I think about his name. I wonder if that important detail is going to come up a little bit later in an important part of my story. I don't know. Let's watch. We'll see, huh? So, on first impressions, my life looks pretty good. And truth be told, it is. It absolutely is. My top value in my life is integrity. And the reason why it is integrity is because I have not always lived my life in integrity. But I am standing before you today in full integrity and in full honesty and saying that I am the healthiest I have ever been, physically, emotionally, and mentally. But that hasn't always been the case. I have suffered through some pretty major mental health challenges. And I'm clear that many of those mental health challenges were because of choices that I made. But there were also some cards that were handed to me that have made mental health a little bit more challenging. So the first one is that I'm an immigrant to this country. I came to the United States when I was about 8 years old when that picture was taken. And when I came to the United States, I was raised bilingual. I knew English and Spanish, but my English wasn't good enough. And so I made a lot of grammatical mistakes, so I had a really hard time fitting in, not just with the language and the culture, but since then, my English, it is getting gooder and gooder and gooder, let me tell you, for sure. Next, I am ADHD. And every mental health professional in the room just said, we know. We got the Andy Dwyer vibes. We get it. We know. Move on. All right, great. And then finally, I am an Enneagram 2. And if you are not familiar with the Enneagram 2, as myself, is just a really big feeler. I feel everything. Everything. I feel it very intensely. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. I wear it all over my body. All over my body. And so navigating through those intense feelings has been quite the challenge. So I'm going to share a little bit about those challenges as we go on our journey into the cave. But before I do that, we're going to set up the activity. Oh yeah, I didn't forget about the activity. So here's what you're going to do. You are going to turn to someone near you, and you're going to find the person that you know the least or that you don't know very well. Trust me, the activity is much better if it's someone you don't know or you don't know very well. You're going to briefly introduce yourself, and then very important, you're going to decide who's going to be partner A and who's going to be partner B. So find someone around you that you don't know or don't know very well. Introduce yourself, partner A, partner B. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Three, two, one, time. Right before my 40th birthday, this is about 5.5 years ago, I went out for a walk. And on this walk, I was hurting, I was heartbroken, and I was very hungover. Very, very hungover. Not just from the previous night, but probably from the previous 2 decades of heavy drinking. And my life was out of control in many ways. And I had a thought. I don't know where this thought came from, but I had this thought. And the thought was this: okay, you have lived the first 40 years of your life essentially out of control. You have lived the first 40 years of your life as a victim to your circumstances. What would happen if you chose to live the next 40 years opposite of that? What would happen if you chose to live your life in control and in responsibility for your actions? What would that look like? So I walked and I thought, and I walked and I thought. Now, I'm not saying that I wasn't taking care of myself at the time. There were definitely strategies, tools, and programs that I was a part of that were helping me and that I was taking care of myself, but they were really band-aids to a severed arm. They weren't really doing enough. And so I made the decision, okay, I'm going to find the things that are working for my mental, physical, and emotional health, and I'm going to turn the volume up on those. And then I'm going to find the gaps. Where am I falling short? Where am I missing something? Where am I making the wrong choices? And I'm going to find support for those choices. So I created a mental health inventory over the last 5.5 years. This was a significant investment in time and money. And sometimes people look at this inventory and they say, that's a lot, and it is. It is. But you know what else was a lot? The mistakes that I kept making. The situations that I kept finding myself in. I was tired of living in that loop. So here's my mental health inventory. I already told you, first rule of CrossFit is tell everyone you do CrossFit. I was involved in many leadership programs that helped train me on how to effectively lead others. I started chiropractor care. My chiropractor is so great, they actually show up at my keynotes. Hey, thank you, Vero. I really appreciate that. I hired a nutritionist to help me understand what fuels my body the best. I invested in coaching, both life coaching as well as business coaching, to help navigate some of the difficult decisions that I had. I am on day 333 streak on Headspace meditation app. And so that has been a daily practice for many, many years. I have obviously been part of talk therapy for a while. I have many doctors to make sure that my medications are correct. I've done several emotional intelligence programs, and my favorite tool in the tool belt is EMDR therapy, which, as you know, stands for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind therapy. Yes, I thought you would get that joke. Thank you so much. Excellent. So this is my inventory. This is my inventory. This is what I have chosen for my life. And here's the first lesson for us. In the cave, you are in control. You are in control. Now, let me say this. Many of us in this room have been victims. Many of us. We've either been victims to just the wear and tear that life brings, or we have been victims to very horrific things. I don't want to take that away from you. I don't want to misplace that. We have been victims to a lot. However, Viktor Frankl said it this way: in between stimulus and response lies destiny. My destiny is determined by my reactions to the stimulus, and I can't always control what happens to me. I can't. But what I can control is my response. And so as you are walking into the cave, as you are going into the areas of your life that are most uncomfortable, remember that you are in control, that you have autonomy, that you have choice. It is not always apparent and it is not always easy, but we always have choice to respond. Now, I took my mental health inventory, and I've been gathering it, practicing it, using all of the different tools. But here's something that I found to be true. The more you invest in your wellness, the more you are challenged. And I'm going to tell you the story of a time where I was severely challenged. And I am grateful for the tools that I gathered to help me navigate through this very, very dark time. It was a time in my life where I had to confront some brutal realities about myself and about my life. It was a time in my life where I felt like the weight of the world was on me. So using the tools and recognizing that I was in a very, very uncomfortable space, I decided to double down on my self-care and make sure that I was taking really, really great care of myself. So on this particular day, in this dark season in my life, I was to travel to deliver not just one, but 2 keynotes the next day. Okay, so I'm traveling out of state to deliver 2 keynotes at a conference. And my flight wasn't until about noon, so I made the conscious decision, I'm going to invest the morning into my self-care. And self-care that day, first, looked like waking up, doing my meditation, having my coffee, but then going right to the gym. Now, if you know anything about CrossFit, you know that the best day of CrossFit is PR day, personal record day. Yes! And so I woke up and I checked the workout and it's PR day, and I was absolutely pumped. Literally, I may or may not have taken a little extra pre-workout, which I'm sure had nothing to do with the impact that happened to me later that day. I'm sure nothing. And I hit my PR. For those of you who speak CrossFit, it was 160-pound power snatch. Not bad for a guy in his 40s, right? So I go to CrossFit. I'm feeling great about my PR. I shower up. I go and get my haircut. And yes, I do believe that getting your haircut is a form of self-care, especially when you go to a great barbershop like I do, Loyal Sons Barbershop on Ingersoll, literally one of the best places in the entire planet. And so I'm feeling good. I got my PR. I got a fresh cut. I'm going to a conference, doing what I love to do. I'm set to go. And I get to my car, and I look at the time, and okay, well, you see, I might have slightly miscalculated my time, just slightly. My mother was an American Airlines flight attendant for 30 years, so I have learned a lot about traveling and what to do and what not to do. And so I have a little extra paranoia about getting to the airport on time, just because I have heard all of her stories. And so I look at my watch, and I'm about 58 minutes from boarding. Okay, not bad, not bad. And if you've all been to the Des Moines airport, it's not terrible to get through, right? So I'm okay. I'm okay. I realize I'm cutting a little close for my comfort, but I'm just fine. I'm about 15 minutes away. Now, I had planned to park in the blue lot. I always park in the blue lot, and I have a nice little brisk walk all the way up to the terminal. Okay, not a problem. But I decide, I'm not very comfortable with this. I'm going to park in what I call the fancy lot, which is right in front of the airport, where they charge you, I think, like $22 a second or something like that. And so I think, okay, everything's fine. You know, it's my mistake. I'll pay for the mistake. And I get to the fancy lot, and there's no spaces. And I don't mean there's like, oh, it took me a long time to find a space. I mean there are 0 places for me to park my car. Okay, so plan A then becomes plan B, which becomes plan A. I go to the blue lot, no spaces. I end up in the south end of the gray lot. If you don't know where that is, it's right next to the entrance to Narnia, okay? It is so far away from anything, okay? At this point, I'm starting to panic, right? I'm starting to struggle. I've got to get to the location. I cannot miss this flight. So as I park in the south end of the gray lot, I see the shuttle coming, so I hurry. Okay, I grab my giant backpack. I travel with a large suitcase, especially when I'm traveling for long periods of time. And so I felt like a cartoon character. I had my big backpack, my large suitcase, and I'm like just doing this, right? I sprint to the shuttle. I get on the shuttle, and then I'm feeling panicked. I'm sweating. I'm feeling stressed out, not just from that day, but from everything that's happening in my life. And then I just start to calm myself down. Okay? I start to calm myself down. I take deep breaths, and I think, okay, you're fine. You've got plenty of time. You got plenty of time. Okay, how much time do I have? Okay, let's just, oh, I left my phone in the car. Oh, I definitely left my phone in the car. By this point, the shuttle is already moving. It is moving away from my car, not towards my car. So, like a frantic person that I was at that moment, I ask the person to stop the shuttle, which is very far away from my car. I take out my giant backpack, my giant suitcase. I sprint back to my car. I find my phone exactly where I knew that I left it. I pick it up, and then I sprint back to the shuttle, and then I wait for what seems to be like hours, was probably just about 7 minutes. I finally get to the terminal. Okay? At this point, probably 30, 35 minutes has passed. Things are getting a little more than dicey. Okay, I walk up to the ticket counter, and there's two people in front of me. So there's a woman and her elderly father, and they're kind of dealing with a situation. And then right behind them, there is a woman. Now, the woman does a take and then lets me go by. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, ooh, I think he misspoke. I think he meant to say double take. Nope, I did not. Let me show you, okay? This is what a double take would look like, okay? Okay, that's a double take. This is what she did. Go ahead. She took one look at me and just let me cut her in line. Now, that should have been my first clue that maybe there was something going on, but I didn't question it. So I'm standing in line. I'm waiting for the attendant to take care of this situation so she can take care of me. And then I experienced what I can only describe as an intense hiccup. It was a, I thought, whoa, that was super weird. What's going on there? And I put my hand on my stomach, and I realized I am hyperventilating. And then I feel wetness on my face, and I realize I'm not crying, I'm sobbing. And I can't stop. I cannot control myself. And that's when I start getting really worried. So I'm next in line. I bring my luggage up. The woman there doesn't ask questions, thankfully. She just helps me get my luggage checked in. I go through security as fast as I possibly can. And after I'm through security, I'm looking at my boarding pass, and I can't read it. I cannot read it. I see the numbers and the letters, but they're all disjointed. I don't know where my gate is, which is kind of ridiculous because I mainly travel with American Airlines. It's always gate C5, 6, and 7, like every single time. I don't know why I even looked, but I was still panicked because I didn't want to repeat my mistake and go to a gate and then have to run to another gate. And so I'm freaking out, I'm panicking, and I'm like, I need to find someone who can help me, And I see a family kind of circled up nearby. Okay, it's two teenagers, a mom and dad, and then a nana. A nana is there, right? You can always trust a grandmother, right? And so I go right up to Nana, and I say, excuse me, can you help me read my boarding pass? Will you let me know what gate am I in? And of course, she was so nice. She was so sweet, and she said, yeah, your gate is C7, obviously. Okay, so I sprint to gate C7. All right, for the purposes of time, I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to fast forward through a lot. A lot happened in about 15 to 20 minutes. So I had plenty of time, and it's because if you can count on anything, you can count on an American Airlines flight being delayed. So there's that. But we're about ready to board. And as they start boarding, my group hasn't been called yet, I am in a complete and utter meltdown. I am hyperventilating. I am bawling. And I cannot stop. I am using every tool at my disposal, and I can't stop. And so I'm hearing the group numbers start to be called. I'm not there yet. And I'm standing near one of the pillars, having my very, very public meltdown. And as this is occurring, I feel a light tap on my elbow. You remember Nana? Nana had come up to me and she said, "Sir, are you okay?" And I just do that. And then she said, "Sir, can I pray for you?" Now, I'm not here to talk about beliefs, but in that moment, there's a line that has been etched in my memory. I don't know where I heard it. I don't know who said it. I don't know what the context was. But this was the line: "Hell hath no defense against the power of a praying grandmother." So you bet I was going to let Nana pray for me. She asked me my name. I said my name is Erik. Then I asked her her name. And this is where it gets really, really weird. Really strange. Okay, time out on this story. Time out. We're going to rewind many, many, many years. Okay, unrelated to what was happening in my life, unrelated to the stress of my life. Many, many years ago, there was someone who did a lot of emotional damage to me. Now again, I am responsible. I am not a victim to my circumstances, but this person did a lot of emotional damage to me. And it took me a long, long, long time to navigate through that very, very difficult season in my life. Particularly, I did a lot of EMDR therapy, and it helped soothe me, it helped me focus, it helped calm me and get me through that situation. Now, this person who did that emotional damage, they have a name. It is a very unique name. It is not a common name at all. In fact, since many, many years ago, I have not met anyone with that name. Nana asks me my name. I say my name is Erik. I ask her her name. She says the name of the person who had done so much emotional damage to me. And at that moment, I was flooded with not just what was happening in the moment, not just what was happening in my life, but then all of those emotions kept flooding right back. And I had two reactions. The first one is I thought, "Nana, you betrayed me!" And the second one was I folded. I was in so much pain in that moment. And the only way that I can describe the pain that I was in is I felt like I was being ripped into a different reality. And I didn't want to go. And I was fighting and fighting and fighting. Now, I didn't give up, because that's not who I am. I didn't give in, because that's not who I am. But I surrendered. And I remember saying out loud, "I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done." And I didn't fall. I didn't faint. I intentionally folded. folded down, sat on the ground, crisscross applesauce like a child. I put my head in my hands, and I surrendered. It was too much. Shakespeare said it this way: when sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. And I felt a gentle hand on my elbow, and Nana had kneeled down next to me and was praying. And when she was done, and I looked up, I realized we have another situation on our hands, because here's what was going on. As I had my eyes closed and had surrendered to the moment, security had been called. Oh, great. And there was a woman standing directly over me in full American Airlines apparel, and she had her hands on her hips, looking down on me. By the way, keep in mind, they're still boarding my flight. They're still boarding my flight. And she said, "Sir, are you able to make this flight?" And I said, yes, I'm fine. I'm just having a moment. I'm not afraid of flying. I can get on the flight. And she said, "Sir, I do not believe you." Now, I'm also reading the room, and I'm recognizing I have created a little tension in this terminal. And at that moment, I hear my name. They're calling my name because they're boarding my flight. I hear Erik Dominguez, paging Erik Dominguez. Passenger Erik Dominguez for American Airlines 1234 to Chicago. Your flight is boarding. I think to break the tension, it would be funny for me to say, "Here, I'm right here. Everything's okay. I've got it." And the woman in front of me was not having it. She said, "Sir, stay there." And I said, No. Listen, my mom was an American Airlines flight attendant for 30 years. I will call her. She will vouch for me. And if you're keeping score at home, again, picture this. I'm on the floor like a child, crisscross applesauce. This woman is standing over me with her hands on her hips, literally shaking her finger at me. She says something that I don't like, and so my response is, "Oh yeah? Well, I'm calling my mom." And that's when the paramedics came. And I realized I'm not getting on that flight. I'm going to miss my flight, and it's going to be my fault. Because I could not regulate my life in that moment. What's the saying? It's always darkest before dawn. I think that was one of the darkest moments of my life. It just happened to be in front of a very crowded terminal. I'm sitting with the paramedics. They have all sorts of devices on me. At this point, I'm not crying. I'm not hyperventilating. I have just somehow surrendered. And I'm looking, just my eyes fixate on these double doors, okay? They're security doors, and it says, "No one past this. This is airport security, airport personnel only." And I don't know why I was looking at those doors, but as I'm looking at those doors, the door opens, and out of the door comes a mountain of a man. Like, just huge dude. Like, I mean, he was like 6'8", maybe 6'9". He could have been 5'1". I don't know. My depth perception was not quite there. But this was a dude, okay? He worked for the airport. I know that because he had one of those yellow vests, and he had a name tag, and he had like 1,000 keys. And he just came right at me. It was as if he were following stage directions, right? He opened the door, saw me, and with intention started walking right to me. And this this guy that looked like a tall, bearded Ron Swanson. You can just tell this is a dude. And he comes up to me and he says, "Hey man, what's your name?" And I say, my name's Erik. What's your name? And at this point, I'm kind of flinching, like, oh, what's his name? And he says, my name is Corbin. Your name is Corbin? And then I proceed to tell him all about my favorite baseball player on my favorite baseball team, Corbin Carroll, right? Arizona Diamondbacks led the team to the World Series, and he was very polite about it. He wasn't quite clear as to why I was telling him that. And then he did something that changed my life. He sat down next to me and he said, hey man, this kind of thing, anxiety, it happens to me all the time. And it really hurts. And for me, I just find that if I have somebody to talk to, if I can just say whatever it is that I'm thinking or feeling out loud, and that person, doesn't need to solve the problem, doesn't judge me. If I can just say that it makes me feel better. So, look, man, if you need someone to talk to, I got you. I'm here. I want to be like Corbin. In that moment, I learned what it means to hold space. It means I've got you. I'm not letting anything in or out. I'm not judging. I'm not solving. I've got you. I have this space. You want to know what's crazy? I remember him introducing himself like that. I remember what I said. I have no recollection, none, of how he responded. None. I know he said something back. I don't remember. I don't remember him exiting stage left. I have no clue. I just remember that I felt 10,000 pounds lighter. I clearly missed my flight. I go to the American Airlines counter. They were so great. They booked me to another flight. I have to wait a while in the airport. I'm going to get to my event. It's going to be very late, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to be able to do my job. On the next flight, I'm sitting in the right next to the window, and there's a woman around my mom's age. She's dressed professionally, and she can tell that I'm still upset. And just to ease her mind, I say, listen, I'm having a really, really terrible day. I'm in a lot of emotional pain. I'm not scared of flying, but if you see me just kind of breathing through things, I'm fine. I'm totally okay. And she gives me a look that I don't quite understand, but I don't have the time to decipher, so I just lean my head against the window, and thankfully I fall asleep for the duration of the flight. I wake up when we land, and as we're taxiing to the gate, I notice her looking at me with this weird look. And so to break the tension, I say, hey, look at that, I made it just fine. And this woman popped. It was like she was holding her breath the entire time. And she said, I am so sorry. You have a son about the same, I have a son about the same age, and him and his wife, they just had their first baby, and it is our first grandchild, and I cannot imagine what could be hurting you so much, and I cannot imagine him ever being in this amount of pain. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do you mind if I pray for you right now? 2 weeks later, I'm recovering, and thankfully, because of my inventory, because of the tools and strategies that I have learned, I was healing at a much faster rate than I have ever healed before, but I'm still on shaky grounds. I'm on yet another flight. I'm sitting in the aisle seat. A young man comes up to me and he asks me if he can change seats with me so that he can sit next to his dad, and I say, of course, of course. And he points to the seat where I will be. It's an aisle seat across the aisle, and next to that seat is another grandmother, except this one says, hey, come on over. I've had a few drinks, and I do bite. It was the most healing conversation I think I have ever had. We talked the entire time for 3.5 hours. And it wasn't just strangers that showed up for me. It was my friends and my family. I have had so many people come to me. I have had so many people walk into my life. I have had so many people walk back into my life. I have felt like Deadpool when he sees Blade for the first time and says, I was not expecting to see you here. And here's the point. When sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. You know what else comes not single spies? Friends, family, community, and sometimes strangers. If you remember anything from my talk today, I want you to remember this. In the cave, you are not alone. You are not alone. I know it feels like you are alone. I know what it feels like to argue for why you are alone. I know what it feels like to feel like you're the only person ever to feel these feelings. But please hear me when I say you are not alone. You never have been, and you never will be. As you journey into the cave, remember that you always, always, always have people. So, that leads us to the end. And this is where you get to participate. Here's what you're going to do. Partner B, you're going to go first. Partner B, you're going to go first. You're going to speak for a full minute, Partner B. A full minute, complete. Partner A, your job is to sit there and smile. That's it. Okay? Partner B, you're going to speak for a full minute. Partner A, just sit there and smile. Partner A, don't get too comfortable, because I'm going to have you do this as soon as Partner B is done. So, Partner B, you might be thinking, what am I going to say? Okay, for a full minute, you are going to brag about yourself. I love that reaction. I love that reaction. Here's why. There's actually two reactions that just happened. The first reaction was, you want me to brag about myself? I have been waiting for this moment all of my life! Right? Okay. But most of you probably reacted by saying, you want me to brag about myself? I can't, because I was taught to be, everybody say it at once? Humble. There it is. So, humble, the original meaning, means of the earth or grounded. If you think of the largest tree you can think of, that tree is deeply rooted, right? This is the General Sherman tree. It weighs 2.7 million pounds. Your next question should be, how did they weigh it? I don't know. Not the point. The point is, humility is not hiding. Humility is not hiding. So, you are going to talk for a full minute about what you have accomplished, what you have overcome, your skills, your talents, what makes you great. There's a few rules that I have for you. Number one, these brags get to be true. You cannot say, I am a 10-time Olympic gold medalist. No. And notice if you went to humor to avoid discomfort. Rule number two, there's no discounting your brags. You can't say, it's not a big deal, I'm not saving the world. Look, if you make the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Even if it is just the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich that is made in your household. Even if you live alone, just own it, right? Just, yes, this is what I do. Finally, there's no comparing your brags. You can't say, oh, I'm a good runner, but not as good of a runner as my neighbor Joe. My goodness, my neighbor Joe, he's so fast. No. This isn't about Joe. This isn't about anybody else but you. Bonus rule. Bonus rule. And if you're thinking, God, he's taking a long time to set this activity up. I know I'm stalling because some of you are freaking out right now. Bonus rule. This is not a list of what you like. I like kittens and puppies and nature. No, I mean, yeah, awesome. But you are listing your talents, your skills, your accomplishments. Okay. I got an activity before the activity, and here's what I need you to do.
Come on, Erik.
I want everybody to close your eyes. I'm going to do it too. Everybody close your eyes. I want you to think of a person who is very important to you. Someone who knows you. Now, you and this person or these people, you don't have a perfect relationship because there's no such thing. But they know you. They've been there for you and with you. If I ran into this person, whoever that might be, and I asked them to brag about you for a minute, first of all, I think they would be furious at me because 1 minute is not long enough to describe how great you are. But I want you to consider, what would they say about you? How would they speak about your talents, skills, and accomplishments? How would they feel if they knew you were hesitating to share those out loud? Go ahead and open up your eyes. Come back to the space. Partner B, I want you to speak in first person. I did this. I overcame this. I accomplished this. I am kind. I am powerful. I am confident. I am empathetic. I am generous. I want you to speak in the first person in the same way that that person who is very important to you, who knows you, would speak about you. All right, enough stalling. Partner B, begin. 3, 2, 1, time. Give your partner a high five or an elbow bump. All right. Partner A, you don't get any extra prep time. Partner A, begin. Three, 2, 1, time. Give your partner a high five or an elbow bump. All right. Hey, who made a new friend today? Yeah. Okay. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. It is not comfortable, but there is treasure. And did you get the treasure? It's you. You are the treasure. You are the treasure. And it takes a lot of discomfort, sometimes pain, to find it. But it's there. And I know there are times when it feels like there is no treasure. I know there are times when it feels like you are alone. And I know there are times when you feel like you don't have any control. And that's okay. That's okay. Get in the cave. Sit crisscross applesauce on the floor. Sit with sadness, sit with anxiety. Listen to what they have to teach you. And when it's time to get up, and there is a time to get up, you're going to feel like you're going to feel like you can't do it. So, I'm here to remind you, you can. You can do it. You can do it. And when it gets harder, just keep going. And we need you to keep going so that you can change the world. We need you to keep going. We need you to keep going. Because the impact you have doesn't just change people, it changes the world. NAMI, Iowa. For holding space for yourselves and taking care of yourselves so that you can take care of others, thank you. For holding space for every one of us that comes into your care, thank you. And for holding space for me today, thank you.